Welcome to Kobe Bryant, episode number 24.
Man, we've been doing this for...
Over 24 weeks because we take weeks off.
That's a lot of... that's 4 months, man.
I'm glad you know that. That's a lot. Maybe that's why I don't know what to talk about today, but that's why you do.
Well,
first off, what happened this week? Nothing.
It felt like a normal
It did.
week.
It was weird. I felt myself at home a little bit more, it seemed like. Maybe not.
Is it because you were at home more?
Yeah.
Wait, okay. You felt yourself at home, like you were feeling yourself while you were at home, or you felt like you were at home a lot more?
I felt like I was at my house more often than I normally would be.
Okay. That makes more sense then.
Like I had my normal stuff going on, but I feel like there was really nothing extra this week.
Mm-hmm. Of course, except for Friday, but then Saturday you had the day off.
Yeah, but Friday we normally have Bible study anyway, so it was like a normal evening of doing something. But yeah, Saturday, that was nice. That was real nice.
Mm-hmm.
Friday during the day, didn't do anything, I don't think. Had basketball practice with Notre Dame basketball team 2 days this week, and yeah, that was about it, man.
When do you all start actual practice?
Like the end of this month. I think in 2 weeks we have a recharge week where they just don't have anything. They just have the week off. And then I think we kind of just get right into it.
Awesome.
So that'll be a busy schedule.
Mm-hmm.
The freshmen probably don't have as many games as varsity and, things like that, but I also feel like I would still be there for those games, even though, let's say, freshmen play at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, I'd probably stay for, the rest of the games, as an assistant and stuff. So
right,
those will be longer days.
Mm-hmm.
On top of everything else we have, but it's enjoyable. I like it. Hopefully we win. Yeah.
Last week I got the honor and privilege of moving the lights around in the church. That was enjoyable to an extent. I enjoy being up high, on the lift and on the ladder.
Do you really?
I do. I feel like a risk taker, especially when I'm just on the ladder. But that was a little bit difficult because I wasn't doing it alone for most of the time, but every position that I did, the day we were doing it, I had to reset it because Zach wanted a more even spread across the stage. So it took me a while. It took me 3 days to get it done, but not full 8-hour days. Then on Friday night, while Grayson was at the football game, I met up with a few people here at Connection Point, and I met with them here at Connection Point. Not everyone is from Connection Point. We finished a song that we've been writing.
What's it called? You don't know that yet?
No, I forgot the name. Kayla's singing it. But it was me, it was myself, Kayla, Paige, and the student named Paul Pierce that we met over the summer.
Not the NBA Paul Pierce.
Not the NBA
but this
Paul
guy's
Pierce.
pretty cool too.
He is a songwriter, and so we got together, wrote this song. We plan on recording within the month. Gonna go record at a buddy of his studio. So we'll see how it turns out. I'm really excited. I've never been a part of this, so
yeah, it's pretty sweet. I'd actually like to see how they do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty interesting.
Yep. And then we, my wife and I went to Springfield on Saturday to go watch a friend of ours play volleyball. It's her senior year, and she's at Evangel University. And it was fun. We went last year to watch her play, and she didn't play the entire game. and it was a little bit disappointing. But we got to go watch her play this year, and it's nice to get to see people do what they love to do. I could tell she was enjoying it out there on the court. We went and saw my sister after that. Saw her and the baby, and she's got a cat that's dying, and it was like my childhood cat, or my second childhood cat. So I wanted to go say goodbye to her.
I'm not a cat person.
See, I'm not necessarily a cat person, but this cat, it's got a very interesting story. So one day, Megan walks outside, my sister, and she sees this cat in a carrier sitting on our porch. And there's a note on it. Well, come to find out, it was all staged by her and a friend. Her friend's cat was having kittens. And they staged the whole thing, and they made it seem like someone just dropped the cat off on our porch. And
Your mom wouldn't say no.
When my mom found out, oh man, there was so much screaming in the house.
It's pretty clever.
Because we had just our cat that we had just died. He lived to be 22, and so my mom didn't want another cat, and she ended up caving, and we took her in. Her name is Christabel. I didn't name her, so don't laugh at me. Yeah, she's got liver failure, bro.
Man.
So she's stage 2.
Quit drinking.
Need to quit giving her the milk, man.
Something.
And then this coming week is so busy.
It is.
For me. My wife is taking her board exam. Final step before getting a job. And she's taking that on Wednesday. It's a 200-question test. She has 4 hours. And this, I don't know if it's that way. I don't know if it's this way in every board exam, but every answer is right on the questions.
Oh.
You have to pick the best one. So
I don't even know what to say.
yeah. If I know we have some people that watch at least our shorts, and they aren't necessarily Christians, but if you're watching and you are a Christian, you are the praying type, I'm going to ask for your prayers for my wife and her board exam. She needs it, but I know she's going to do well. You'll be watching the day that she is taking her boards. So just pray for her, and then pray for our sanity, because 2 days after that we will be signing our lease and moving to another country.
To all you viewers out there, we wanted to come and support you locally. He's joking.
We're moving over closer to Grayson. We're moving across town, but we're still moving. That'll be fun.
Oh, that was funny.
I remember Ashton telling us that you never know how much stuff you have until you move. We started packing, and he's totally right, man.
It's a good clean out, though.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't take it if you don't need it.
Yep. Well, we can't just leave it there.
You ain't got a dumpster?
We got a dumpster, yeah.
There you go.
But then, of course, we wrapped up the week how we always do on Sunday at church.
Indeed we did.
Church yesterday was good. We had a guest speaker from an organization called Jews for Jesus. And I won't say all that means, but what Jews for Jesus is they practice Jewish traditions, but they believe that Jesus is the Messiah.
They are Jewish people.
Yeah.
The other Christians.
Yes.
And then 4-1.
And then 4-1 last night. Yep. We had a good night.
The Chiefs won. Barely. The Bills won.
There was a 9:00 game yesterday.
It was awesome because I didn't come till later, so I got to wake up and just watch some football.
That's crazy.
Eat some breakfast and go to second service and
Mhm.
come home and watch some more football. So that was pretty awesome. That
Yep.
needs to be a regular thing. Question. So that game was in London.
Mhm.
So now I have two questions. You might have to Google this. The game started at 9.
9.
What time is that in London? Patiently waiting.
Okay. They are. 1, 2, 3. They're 6 hours ahead of us.
Oh, holy cow. So that was like a normal afternoon game.
It was 3. It started at 3 p.m. yesterday.
I wonder how early they got there in the week to like get used to this.
Yep. I think they go at least 2 days before.
I feel like I'd be more tired the third day.
Uh-huh.
I'll also say, do you think, so it was two teams. I think one of those teams is playing again this week.
Jags and the Falcons.
Yeah. And I think the Jaguars are playing this coming week in London too. I guess the winner gets to play again.
No. My theory is that the league is trying to do a international expansion.
Mhm.
And so Jacksonville has been that team to play in London every year. I don't know if they're planning on expanding them to London because, I mean, they have a really nice stadium down in Jacksonville. But they just happen to be the team that always plays over there.
That's interesting.
It is interesting. As you can tell, we're football guys. We enjoy football. For me, it came from my dad. When I was a kid, I didn't necessarily enjoy it, but I gained a respect for it in my later years of high school. So I began to enjoy it then, and I love sitting down on a Sunday afternoon and watching football, or on a Saturday or Friday night. I don't have necessarily a team that I love to watch. I just like to watch football.
Yeah, same. What are we talking about today? We did a good job killing 12 minutes.
12 minutes.
No.
Yeah. This is like Grayson said at the beginning of the podcast. This is the problem with doing a podcast for so long, and a podcast. I mean, I won't say a podcast over Christianity.
Well, it is though. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not. But I mean, if it was just shoot the crap.
Mm-hmm. And if we were able to do it, like if we did it over a message, right? A message-based podcast, I think that'd be a lot easier because, I mean, we would know what we talked about. But we don't give messages throughout the week.
Yeah, not really. Last night we kind of had a small group before 4-1 talking about depression and anxiety before we got into our next sermon series, because last month was Suicide Awareness Month. There's some good conversation there.
Mm-hmm.
I know I had a season of, I hate saying the word depression or anxiety, but I guess that's what it is.
Yeah.
I always thought it was a thing. I just thought some people have it, some people don't. So I never thought I would get it or could get it. And I couldn't tell you every reason why I was in that season. I know financially I was being worried. I know I was about to have a kid, but I wasn't worried about that. I was just worried with the life changes that brings. I've always had different friend groups in my life, but it seems like they've always gone away.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like God's taken them from me somehow, some way, for some reason. And I was worried that would happen again once I had a kid, because I was like, all my time and attention is going to have to go here. Like, if it's not doing certain things, it's being at home and doing that, not necessarily hanging out. Which, I mean, it has changed, but I think that's understandable. But everyone's still there. you know. It's just not as often, which is fine.
Has that happened to you before where you started doing something new and that's the reason that you lost your friends?
I guess the first time it was like I had my friends here and then I moved to Florida,
Mm-hmm.
right, for 2 years, and I had my friends there, like my best friends there.
Yep.
And then I moved back home.
Right.
And they moved back home, or they moved to college, whatever it was. Whatever it was. And then I got here, got into a job, had a friend group through that, and then that ended for numerous reasons. Plus, I left the job.
Yep.
So yes and no. I mean, the first two examples, most definitely.
Mm-hmm. It happened to me when I was in high school. I had a very large friend group, and I made the mistake of dating within the friend group. And I dated this girl for 2.5 years. And in that time, I considered myself a Christian, but I wasn't going to church. I did not have a relationship with Jesus. I went, the only times I would go to church were Christmas, Easter, and Disciple Now.
I think I quote unquote dated my whole friend group.
Really?
Were women
Mm-hmm.
or girls at the time. It really starts off way back. So like I went to Trinity Lutheran for grade school,
Mm-hmm.
pre-K to through 5th grade. And then my sisters, it was time for them to go to school. My stepdad was Catholic at the time, and they were going to go to St. Vincent's. So I transferred to St. Vincent's just to be there with them,
Mm-hmm.
6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So I left that first group of friends that I knew forever, it felt like at the time, to this new place. We had a pretty large friend group. It was a pretty cool experience. Other than that's kind of where everything started going downhill for me.
Mm-hmm.
I would say like 6th grade summer going into 7th is when drugs and the start of alcohol, I guess, kind of started
crazy,
and
man.
sneaking out. I know, isn't that nuts?
That young, you're 12, 13 years old.
Yep, I would sneak. So this is just a cool story. I mean, now, like, it's not cool. I don't recommend. So I stayed in the basement, and I lived in a neighborhood where literally all my friends from St. Vincent's,
Really?
that grade school live. Like all my best friends, guys and girls, like every single one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So we all just like all the time got on our bikes, hung out. Like it was the most amazing thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
In the basement, there has to be a window in the bedroom, make it a legal bedroom, yada, yada, yada. So there was a window in my bedroom, and I would sneak out of that window and meet up with some friends or a friend, go smoke, and then sneak back home. And I did this for months. And my mom has a cleaning lady that comes like once a week. And one day I guess I wasn't there, so I heard the story from my mom like a year later once everything kind of was blown over, you know. She was cleaning, like I guess the window, and she told my mom, it's kind of weird. The screen, you know how windows have screens, is off the window, and there's like a little grass on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my mom instantly knew like what I was doing. But I was like, why didn't you just think that I had the screen off, and if I ever opened the window, some grass came in?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was like, why didn't that go to your brain first? So my mom sat upstairs. Her bedroom was right above mine. So she sat upstairs and looked out the window, which I would never know, like, because like I was ground level. Like I crawled almost up to the ground.
Yeah.
So she was just looking down and just waiting. And I snuck out, went and did my thing. And it's probably 3 a.m. And my mom calls me. And I'm like, I don't even remember. I'm just I am high sitting there like, oh no, this
Yeah.
is not good. And so I don't answer it. I'm like, I'm sleeping. I wouldn't answer,
Mm-hmm.
you know? She calls again. I don't answer. So I text her and say, hey, sleeping, everything good? You all right? And she texted me the weirdest thing and said, I need you to bring me the remote. And I was like, I'm in bed, like, no.
Mm-hmm.
By that time, I am outside sprinting home. And this is the one time I went to someone else's house
Mm-hmm.
instead of like the one that's like 2 streets down. It's like probably half a mile.
Oh, man.
And I start sprinting home, and it is pouring down rain. And I round the corner. Like, there's a house, and I round this corner and like can see my house now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh my God, my mom, she's outside waiting on me. It wasn't my mom, it was the trash can. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
So the second I get into that room and shut the window behind me and lay in bed, my mom kicks my door open and goes nuts on me. And I have a radio. You've seen it. It's like this high off the ground. If you're on Spotify, it's probably up to my hip.
Oh, the speaker?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
3.5
4
feet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
3.5. And heavy. I mean, a typical female is not going to carry that thing around with one hand, and they're going to hate carrying it around with two. She throws it through my closet wall and just loses it. And I think I'm just sitting there probably bawling. Like, I'm just like, I don't know what's going to happen to me. I think she's going to kill me.
Mm-hmm.
And then she just goes upstairs, and I'm like, I guess I'm going to go to sleep. But I was like, she doesn't know that I smoke or anything.
Mm-hmm.
She just thinks I'm sneaking out. And then she comes in my room again. She goes, get upstairs, sleep in your sister's room, because they were at their dad's that night.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm not going to do it again. Like, I'm not going to sneak out tonight
Yeah.
again. Like, that would be absolutely dumb.
Right.
But she made me sleep in their twin bunk bed. And she was scared I was going to do something to her. She was scared I was
Really?
going to harm her. She hid the kitchen knives in her room and locked herself in the room. I was like, that never crossed my mind,
Yeah.
at all. But I guess she was just like, I've never lost my mind on this kid like this before. And she did know, indeed, I was getting high. I
Yeah.
just didn't think she knew. So she was just, I don't know, nervous for that. And then she took my phone for a day and made me write some note, and then I got my phone back the next day. Never snuck out again, though.
Really?
Never.
Until college. Or not college, until
yeah,
IMG.
but that wasn't under her supervision.
Yeah. That's wild, man. But, I mean,
And then we moved out of the neighborhood.
it's like, I'm getting out of here.
2 weeks later, we're gone. I'm like, Mom. She's like, I promise I'm not doing this because of what you did. And I'm like, there is no other explanation.
Oh, man.
You caught me and put a for sale sign in the house, in the yard. Broke my heart. That was the worst punishment ever. Every one of my friends, I had to like drive and go see them now. But I wasn't 16, so my mom had to drop me off.
Uh-huh. Man. I
But
think
yeah.
like that leaving or starting something new, I think is so it's for me, that's the only way I've lost friends, and so it's been hard for me. When I became a Christian, started dating my now wife, or when I started having a real relationship with Jesus, I didn't have the same interests as my friends. I didn't want to do the same things as my friends, as my old friends. And also, I mean, there was still tension there because of the way that things ended with the two girls that I had a thing with in that friend group. That made it really difficult on me. Like I was so upset, and I was, because the only friend I had at church or in my life then was my girlfriend, and then her girl friends. I didn't have any male friends, and it took a long time for me to. I mean, the same way that I thought about you when you came into the church was the way that the guys that were here, like Tyler, Braden, and Clayton, they all thought about me that exact same way. That was just some random douchebag trying to just date this girl. But it took until I was leading for me to finally like get friends, and now like those guys that I talked about, they're 2 years younger than me. I didn't have any friends my age. Grayson is a year older than me. It took until a year ago until we started really being friends. So it's difficult, and in that time where I had no friends, really, it's stupid, but the first time that this girl broke up with me, um, the first time, well, we broke up twice, but the time she broke up with me, I was at work, and I worked in Fruitland, Missouri, and Fruitland is right off the interstate. I was gonna go drive the opposite way on the interstate, and my mom called me while I was leaving because Parker Fisher, my best friend in high school, called my mom because that girl called Parker. Like, I am fully convinced that if my mom did not call me, I would have killed myself. And that's hard for even me today to swallow, because I can look back and I can think about how stupid it was, but in the moment, my entire world revolved around that girl.
That's the really hard thing with dating. I'm not one to say don't date, whatever, but I was one that I was not in a relationship very long.
Mm-hmm.
From, 6th grade on.
Yep.
No, I had serious relationships. It wasn't just like whatever, but I think my first serious relationship was probably like going into high school.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And this girl was kind of like changing a lot. Wow, a lot. I wasn't the most Christian person, right? But there was like things I wouldn't do, or things I wouldn't say because of conviction, or just like I know I can't do that.
Yeah.
Why I still did these other things and didn't care, I don't know. And then like right after that relationship, I got into another one, and it was very serious. That pretty much it ended because I went to school in Florida. Okay. Like there was no reason, right, other than I live here. Now, I'm not gonna lie, when I got to Florida, I did meet this other girl as I was dating this girl from here. But I was just like, I thought I was gonna marry that one in Florida. So I ended up leaving this girl for that girl. And then I was so bad at that school. So bad. It's insane. Now there's like a whole different level of bad, I guess, if you talk about meth and cocaine and whatever. But just, cheated on her every week. Just absolutely horrible. Would lie to her all the time. Like she'd want to hang out. And like it's a dorm. So if you imagine college, dorm style, that's what my high school was, but probably nicer than everyone's college in America besides like Duke. And on this side, on the left side of campus was the guys' dorm, and then across from that was the girls' dorm. It was called the Cinder Hall, and they could go to our lobby and we could go to their lobby, but we couldn't go in the elevator or up the steps to the rooms. So she'd always say, "Hey, you want to hang out? I'm in the lobby, whatever." And I'd say, "Yeah," but then I'd just I blamed it on getting bored, but I don't know what it was. But you're just sitting in the lobby. There's other people. It's just like, it's not an easy relationship to have. Like you're never alone. Like you can never just go hang out. And I was like, yeah. And then like 10 minutes later, it's like, oh, I'm really tired. I gotta go to bed. And she's like, it's 9:00. I'm like, yeah, I'm really sleepy. And then I go upstairs, and once you get up the elevator, there's windows, and you either live on the right side or the left side. And I lived on the right side, and like 3 of my best friends lived on the left side. So I'd walk to my right and act like I went through this door, because like she'd look and like wave like, hey, good night. And then I'd get on my hands and knees and crawl to the other side so she wouldn't see me. And I'd just like send her a text, hey, good night, whatever. And then, yeah, start getting high or doing whatever I did. Stayed up till 1. It's just, it was very, very unhealthy. It started off on the wrong foot already, right? Like caught feelings for her whenever I was still with another girl. And I guess you could say it completely ended because, hey, I was graduating. She was still there. But, I mean, it ended because, well, one, I wasn't supposed to be with her.
Yep.
But two, I made it very obvious that she didn't need to be with me.
Yep.
I was the type of guy that I felt bad for breaking up with someone. So I waited until I gave them enough reasons to do it to me.
Dang. Not me. I only had 2 actual girlfriends from ninth grade in high school to now. One girl, like I said, she broke up with me, and then we got back together. I broke up with her. I talked to a girl for a good 3 months, and this is a fun story. I don't know if I've ever told you this. I know the viewers haven't heard. It's gonna be a long episode. That's okay. But we were talking. Everything was going well. We went to prom together, and sometime after prom, between prom and like the last day of school, I was told by her friends that she didn't want a relationship with me. And I asked her, she said yes. Like, she said that was true. I said, oh man, okay. So that's when I didn't get back together with my ex, but me and my ex went and like hung out. And I mean, we kissed,
on the cheek.
Yeah. But the next day, it's a Saturday, and it was a pop concert, but we were already graduated because we were seniors. I went to a movie with my family that morning with my 3 sisters, and I got a text from the girl saying something along the lines of, "Hey, I'd like to try things out like this over the summer, see if we can work." And my ex blackmailed me because we had planned on getting back together. And I said, "Hey, like, this other girl is wanting to like try things out, so like we're just gonna cut it off." She blackmailed me. She's like, if you don't tell her, I'm going to. Told her about the kiss, and that is truly what started the hatred of. I'm sorry, that wasn't even my senior year. That was my junior year. Holy cow! Because my wife and I dated my senior year. But yeah, that was the reason my friends left. Like, my friends didn't want to be friends with me, is because I hurt her really bad. I really did.
Yeah, dating's weird. I don't like it.
You said you're not one to say to not date.
I'm not one
right
to say
now,
that, but I don't think you should.
Yeah, especially dating in like school, elementary school, middle school, high school. You're rarely ever gonna find your life partner, and most of the time you're just gonna do things that you're gonna regret later in life.
Even if you do, there's a hair in my mouth.
Yep.
Even if you do find that one of you's still gonna do something stupid.
Yep.
And then that risks one of the other ones leaving you. And that was going to be the one, Yep.
See, I'm fortunate. I did find my wife in high school. It was my senior year of high school whenever we started dating. That doesn't mean that we didn't go through struggles. And it sucked. Like, especially like dating in school sucks because yes, you're looking forward to marriage and dating, but when you're in high school, you're like 3 years away. And I mean, we're human. We have desires that are designed for marriage when we're dating, and having those desires for 3 to 4 years is it's almost impossible to not cave into those desires. And that ruins that doesn't ruin our influence, but it hinders our influence. Because yes, I may be able to speak to someone who's struggling with that, but I also have to do it out of a hypocritical stance because I myself struggled with that.
Yeah. I just see so much of it, even from some close-ish friends and people, mostly girls, because the guys I'm around, they're either married or they don't date anybody.
Yep.
But some of the girls I'm around, like they're in a relationship kind of like I was. It seems like just like they're always in one,
Yep.
right? I'm not saying it's always any of the girls' faults.
Mm-hmm.
It's typically the dude's fault that's in the relationship with them. But at some point, I'm just like, wouldn't you get the point? Like, even if you're dating somebody that's in the church and everything and still of that age, like it's still, things still are going to get messed up.
Yep.
99% out of 100 times, it's not going to work. And that's something that's like, how am I going to tell my daughter this? You know, when she's in 8th grade and starts liking dudes.
I know.
Like, how are you in a nice way? Because I'm not just going to be like, no, you can't date. Like, I'm not going to be that person. My wife very well might, 'cause she definitely didn't date until she met me.
And even then, you guys
But
will
even-
say you guys didn't even really date. You guys just hung out, and then
Yeah.
a
Pretty
few
much.
months later, you just engaged. You
Yeah.
asked her to marry you.
Yeah. It's hard to be like, oh, when you know, you'll know. Like, that's what my family always told me. And I was like, I feel like I know every time.
Yep.
Like, I'm not just killing time, you know? Like, yeah, this girl's pretty cute. Hey, we get along. Hey, okay, I might marry her one day. Like, I have no idea.
But when you knew, you knew.
But when I knew, I knew. But it's hard to say that, like, to hear that. Because every time I felt more so like, oh, you know? So I think that is the worst advice I've ever heard in my life. When you know, you'll know. And it's like, okay, well, a 15-year-old thinks he knows.
Mm-hmm. I for sure thought I knew.
Yeah. And I feel like guys think they know more so than girls.
Yeah.
Because I know of some relationships of younger people, it's like, this dude's talking about marriage, and he's 15.
That was me.
No, it was me too.
Yep.
Like 100%. But I see it in like every dude
Mm-hmm.
that's younger now. And I'm just like, every guy genuinely thinks that. So when he messes up still, and he is truly sorry for it,
Yep.
100%. But once he's forgiven, you're right there back at it. So it's very interesting because I don't think girls are set on that right now. When they're older, I think they are, you know, maybe college and out. But I think a guy is truly like thinking about marriage and his future and his kids and working, and that's it. And the girl's just like, we're just dating. Like, I don't, like, we're serious, but we're not serious kind of thing.
Yep.
He's looking up scripture right now. So bear with us, and then we'll get out of here. Because I'm starving. I wonder if this microphone picked up my stomach growling about 6 times.
Mine did as well. I think. Okay. So, I'm going to read a lot of 1 Corinthians 7, chapter 7 here. It specifically talks about marriage, and it talks about temptation before marriage. Yes, I know that girls get tempted too, and girls have thoughts. But the majority of the time, like the relationships, the girls that we are in contact with, especially the high school girls, right? The reason that their relationship, they're on my worship team.
And in our small group.
Yes.
And just all around us.
Yes, and we're okay. Regardless, right? When the reason their relationships almost always fail is because the boy wants to do too much. The boy has too much temptation, and he tries to act on it. But I'm going to say 100% of the relationships that have failed so far in those girls' lives have been because of that.
Yeah.
This scripture speaks on that. Now, concerning the matters about which you wrote, it is good for a man not to have sexual relations with a woman. But because of the temptation to sexual immorality, each man should have his own wife and each woman her own husband. The husband should give to his wife her conjugal rights, and likewise the wife to her husband. For the wife does not have authority over her own body, but the husband does. Likewise, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but the wife does. Do not deprive one another, except perhaps by agreement for a limited time, that you may devote yourselves to prayer, but then come together again, so that Satan may not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. Now, as a concession, not a command, I say this. I wish that all were as I myself am. This is Paul writing. But each has his own gift from God, one of one kind and one of another. To the unmarried and the widows, I say that it is good for them to remain single as I am. But if they cannot exercise self-control, they should marry, for it is better to marry than to burn with passion. To the married I give this charge, not I, but the Lord. The wife should not separate from her husband, but if she does, she should remain unmarried, or else be reconciled to her husband, and the husband should not divorce his wife. To the rest I say, I, not the Lord, that if any brother has a wife who is an unbeliever, and she consents to live with him, he should not divorce her. If any woman has a husband who is an unbeliever, and he consents to live with her, she should not divorce him. For the unbelieving husband is made holy because of his wife, and the unbelieving wife is made holy because of her husband. Otherwise your children would be unclean, but as it is, they are holy. But if the unbelieving partner separates, let it be so. In such cases, the brother or sister is not enslaved. God has called you to peace. For how do you know, wife, whether you will save your husband? Or how do you know, husband, whether you will save your wife? In that scripture, Paul calls us. Paul believes that we should remain single. He wishes that we could all remain single. But like he says, other people have different gifts. And if you cannot have self-control to be married. Now, I'm not telling if you're a young viewer to go and get married because you can't control or you don't have any self-control. You have things to learn. You have a relationship to grow. What I am telling you, though, is to not date. Dating, we talked about, leads to desires, leads to a lack of self-control. And if you just cut that out completely, it won't be a struggle for you. At least acting on it. I think at a certain age, everyone is going to have desires, and we're just going to have to deal with it. I mean, God made sex. Sex is good. But it's good when it's in marriage. As a married man, sex with my wife, and I don't even know why I'm saying this, but because I don't have any other preference. I don't have previous experience, but I would love to say the sex with my wife is much better than sex would have been with a girlfriend in high school, because it's right. When I get done with having sex with my wife, I don't feel bad. But I know that when I was in high school and I would get done, making out with a girl, I would feel bad. Now, for those that are older, right, and you are falling into temptation every day, sinning, because you lack your self-control. I believe Paul right here is speaking to you. If you can't control it, go and get married. Of course, you have to find the right person, but sometimes I believe we know the right person at such a young age, or especially like we've seen them. I mean, I think about Drew and Lexi, right? They've known each other for so long, and Drew has been pursuing her for so long. And finally, Lexi, I don't want to say she caved in, but she realized that Drew was the right person for her. It's a young couple we have here at the church. I think oftentimes relationships and the people we should marry are similar to that situation, where we've known them for so long and we keep on denying them, but finally God breaks down that wall and they're like, I've never noticed this about you. I think that is a perfect representation of what we've been talking about today. And for those of you that are younger, that are in that dating age, I think our urge to you is to refrain from it. Practice self-control. If you're walking by the Spirit, we did a whole series of the podcast talking about the fruits of the Spirit. If you're walking with the Spirit, that is something that you should have, something you should be able to practice.
That was good. 45 minutes in. Love y'all.
I applaud you if you're still listening.
Me too. Have a good week. Time for lunch. Love y'all. Episode 24. Over.
See ya.
Peace.